Hey everyone, this is Olay Shorunke from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world. Welcome one, welcome all to a fresh episode of EduSteps powered by Laddering Your Success. As always, I am your host, Olay Shorunke, here with some awesome people, some awesome friends to talk about anything involving education, community, finding your purpose, finding your passions. Here with my good friend Festus. How you doing today, Festus?
Good, man. Really good. Trying to catch up on sleep. You know, as a parent, you don't really get out into the streets like that, and so it's like, oh man, just sitting there till late. It's weird.
I love being this close to 40 and trying to relate. We're talking about relating with the younger people, and just looking at them and just being like, man, y'all are weird. But knowing that when we were that age, I'm pretty sure they looked at us and they were like, y'all are weird. Because remember, we had long tees and dream shorts and miscolored Nikes on, so we were wilding ourselves,
The Air Force Ones.
Yeah, Air Force. Well, I was cheap. I had the P. Millers.
Oh, that's true.
Anyone remember the P. Millers? No one? Anyone? Yeah, okay, Crawford. I know Crawford. Speaking of Crawford, here, my good friend, soon to be Dr. Jamar Crawford. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, happy to be here with you guys. I'm kind of jealous of you, man. You look good. You look better than me with the shaved beard.
No, man, you got the mustache. I want the mustache, so I'm gonna work on my mustache game for a little bit. But it's funny because it's like my face is pale. The lower half of my face is pale from having a beard for so long. So I guess my face is just getting used to having. I need to go outside and walk for a little bit, get my lower half of my face some vitamin D. And of course, Timothy, the one, the only, the ambassador, came down from his mountaintop.
Okay.
Bless us here, us little folk. The one, the only Daniel Hill. How you doing today, good sir?
I'm actually good here, man. I'm over here with y'all, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man, so when did your puberty finally hit? Have you reached puberty yet or not?
Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff there.
My
All
God.
right. For those of you who can't see, I shaved my beard, so apparently I look like a 4-year-old. Look like a so. Anything else? You want to drop? You got another one you want to drop there? Crawford said I look like George Foreman earlier. No, it's all good. I love it, man. So today we're going to be talking about finding career paths within your purpose. And I think this is really, really key. This is a really, really huge thing. Folks, as of today, it is September the 3rd. If you're not in school, if you're of age and you're not in school, something's wrong, because everybody should be in school by now, right? So all the districts, all the private schools, everybody should be in school. Or maybe there's like some alternative school where they don't even give grades. You get like a color, right? He did really good in history. He got an orange, kind of thing. Maybe one of those schools are starting and they're only in for like 4 weeks or something like that. But pretty much everyone should be in school. People, and I was hearing, the big story here right now is HISD, and how a lot of the students were saying, man, we just went right into the school year. We didn't even, like, first, second day, we just started learning. We didn't even get a chance to know our classmates. And it was like, Festus made a really good point. He said, well, clearly what's been happening before hasn't been working. So maybe we got to change some things. Maybe, we don't have time to, hey, my name, no. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Read it. They just dump it right into the lesson. But either way, we want to talk about purpose, right? Your passions, and how do you find career pathways that line up within your passions, right? And so I think, what I normally like to do is I like to give a background for me to just kind of help, make the narrative a little clearer for what we're talking about. I was fortunate enough about 5 or 6 years ago to find my passion in teaching. It's something that I had always known to a certain extent that I was good at, or that I like to do. And one of the things that I noticed is whenever I would show someone or teach someone about something, it could be about cologne, it could be about fabric, it could be about, and not cars, because I didn't know a lot about cars at the time, but just a lot of the things that I knew when I would beers, craft beers and things like that, whenever I would teach people about those things, what I found out was that it would turn into something much, much bigger. So one of my good friends, I just told him a little bit about cologne. And before you know it, he has a much larger cologne collection than me. His knowledge is expansive. He's exposed himself to all these different things about cologne. And it was all based off of like a couple different conversations that we had. And so I was like, man, that teaching thing is really, man, okay, maybe that's something I'm really good at. So I kind of look at it as far as like, what I do now, working with, elderly people, doing different exercises and working in different modalities to help them be more independent and live more comfortable lives. I find myself using a lot of those natural things I was passionate about to help me in this new avenue, right? And so that's the thing I want to bring up to us is, first of all, how do we find our passions? And then secondly, how do we take those passions and use them to find pathways for us, right? To make a living, to fulfill our purpose, to kind of fill out that ikigai that we always talk about here at Laddering Your Success, right? Festus, I know you have some really, really good stuff that you always jump in and talk about, that you always talk about whenever we do that. I know I've seen some stuff when you talk with the kids and stuff. So how do you find those things and then find those career pathways?
So hopefully we'll see how this thing behaves with us today, and we'll do some learning. And so those who are in video land will be able to see this better. So if you're not following us on YouTube, you want to follow us on YouTube so you can watch this. If you're getting the audio, I'll do my best to kind of explain it. So think about a Venn diagram, right? So you got a Venn diagram, okay, 3 circles, 3 interlocking circles. With the ikigai wants you to find basically 3 things. Oh, where did my thing go? It wants you to find what can you get paid for? What are you good at? And then what does the world need? Right? So when you look at what you can get paid for, typically that's what we're looking at in the United States. Who's paying the most? And then we just try to go get into that field. And oftentimes we have not given any consideration to our skill set, to our ability, right, to accomplish that job. We just look at it more as, hey, I need to get the most money. And this is a thing that's interesting, is that skills are meant to be developed, right? And so oftentimes we think that we could get paid simply based off of knowledge, right? I know something, so somebody's going to pay me for what I know. Oftentimes people really pay for the outcome of what you know. For example, if you have a leak and you call a plumber, and the plumber comes to your house and says, hey, and I'll give you this very real example. This actually happened to me. Plumber came over because we had water on the floor. I could not tell where the water was coming from. I'm just like, yo, there's water on the floor. So the plumber comes over, the plumber starts talking to me. Dude's talking about all kinds of things, right? Except for this leak. And I'm like, dude, I don't know you. I don't want to get to know you. I want you to stop the water. Like, I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? And so dude's just talking to me. So we're talking for about 20 minutes. And then the guy goes, okay, how do I get to your ladder, to your attic? And I was like, oh, through here. So he's like, all right. He goes in the attic. He takes his little snake drain gun and he's like, yeah, so your AC backed up. He does this little drill trick real quick. And he's like, from now on, pour either bleach or vinegar in this little drain once a year as the weather changes. He was like, because the weather changed, builds up algae, whatever, and it causes this thing to turn into like a gel and it backs up. And he comes down and then he's like, that'll be $350. I was like, dog, wait a second. Okay, you talked to me longer than you fixed the thing, right? But you did fix the thing. And so this is the thing. If he came to me and he was just like, give me $350, right, and gave me the knowledge, right, I would still expect the outcome of a fixed drain. And this is where a lot of people are making a mistake nowadays, because we don't know how to reproduce these outcomes for people that they're really looking for. And we're trying to sell them the knowledge. And oftentimes, unfortunately, because of, I guess, social media influencer society, we try to sell them the knowledge of us. Hey, it's me, pay me, right? But that's not how things really work, okay? So next, we have to look at what we're good at. And again, I'll stick with that analogy simply because you know, I think it's just gonna be helpful. So the plumber was really good at plumbing, right? And because he was really good at plumbing, right, he knew exactly where to look based off of getting in the attic. He'd never been in my house before. He automatically knew, like, hey, this is how this thing typically works. And so I'm good at that thing. And so that made him be able to fix the problem literally in a matter of minutes, where it took me almost 2 days of trying to figure out where this water was coming from. And thinking, dude, where's this thing coming from? But because he knew automatically, he had this knowledge, he had this skill set that he was good at, he combined those two things, what he can get paid for and what he was actually good at. And finally, he combined what does the world need, okay? And so that is pretty much the Ikigai. And so you combine what you're good at, Ikigai, I'm probably misspelled that, I-K-A-G-I, I-A, right? Sorry, y'all. I'm not ELA today, okay? So anyway, so if you combine those things, whenever the world needs plumbers, and I'll give another example that is aligned with plumbing. When the big freeze happened in Houston about 2 years ago, and everybody had their pipes break, and they needed plumbers were going to house to house, fixing these leaks for $800 a piece. And so you could have 2 or 3 leaks in the same pipe, 2 or 3 leaks in the same house. And so they would just be like, oh, it's $2,500. And the thing is, people needed plumbers so bad, they were pulling cash from everywhere to pay these plumbers. So a plumber could literally just park on a street, and if they had the parts, and actually plumbers were coming from out of state to fix these leaks, and people were months of not getting these leaks fixed. They could just park on a street and literally make thousands and thousands of dollars in a single day. And, you know, why was they able to do that? Because the need was so great. So the greater the need, it drove up the cost of the service that they were doing. And so when you're looking at the Ikigai, oftentimes we just look at who's going to pay me, where's the money coming from, instead of how great the need is and how good am I at that thing. And why is that significant? Because when the need drops, right, when the need goes down, the expectation of quality actually typically goes up. Does that make sense? So when people are saying, hey, look, I want to buy a t-shirt, and your t-shirt is not great quality, and there's another t-shirt that is great quality, they're going to want to go after the higher quality shirt, generally speaking, right? Unless the need for shirts is very, very high. And so this is why, you know, everybody can't drop ship. Everybody can't be a rapper. Everybody, as a teacher, you want to leave teaching and you're trying to figure out, yo, what's the next lane?
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that even though the cost of college can be daunting, the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook can assist you in realizing your dreams. You can identify and apply for scholarships using the information, advice, and resources in our comprehensive guide. Also, we've provided a template for a successful scholarship essay to help you stand out from the crowd. Don't allow student loan debt to control you. Get your copy of the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook right away to take charge of your destiny. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to that fire conversation.
Shout out to Cedric Scott, Edu Hustle. Y'all check them out, right? You wanna say, okay, where's the need the greatest? And let me go address that need, but also let me increase this quality of my skill set as high as possible so that when the need diminishes, I'm still in demand because the quality of what I'm doing is so high. So I'm gonna pause with that. turn it over to the other fellas, and then I'll talk about like being, knowing, doing, and how does that work out in this later. So yeah, I don't know if I could pause to share. Somebody else want to come up and talk real quick?
Yeah, sure, I got you, bro. But yeah, actually, like how you spoke on that, the need and the quality, like we was talking about different shirts, me and Shorunke, and we talking about like you can't charge the same price for every shirt, bro. Like it's like the quality. Like if you good at making shirts, then you good at it. But some people just think they can throw anything out there. Now, when the need is there, like you said, like people just need something, like going to, like we went to the soccer game this summer. Man, them boys could have any type of raggedy jersey on the side and somebody buying it just to have it. You know what I'm saying? Just be a part of it. But when you leave that game and those people go to the mall, they ain't trying to buy your raggedy shirt for no $50. You know what I'm saying? He wants something quality. So yeah, that's how I kind of see it. Like how you said, you got to find out what you're good at and what can make you money.
I think sometimes what you're good at might not be your passion. And so sometimes you can think about how to leverage what you're good at to still, if you need to, have that income coming in while you're still discovering your passion. And even when you do discover your passion, how can you incorporate what you're good at into your passion to, leverage those skills as well? So that's just something that I wanted to put out there, because sometimes what you're good at might not just be your passion. You just have that skill, and I think about my father, because my father has so many different skills, and he pulls in money from all of those different skills. And I remember as a kid, I was so confused when somebody asked what my dad did. I'm like, I don't know. I think he's a plumber. I think he's an electrician. I think he fixes cars. I think he fixes houses. Like, he did all of those things, but those were his skills. He had skills to where he always can make money, but those weren't necessarily his passions. So I definitely just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. When I was like in the second grade, I used to be kind of embarrassed because I think my dad was probably working at KFC at that time. He's probably working at KFC. And then he also threw paper at night are y'all familiar with the Houston Post?
Yeah, 100%.
So back in the day, Houston used to have two newspapers.
Yeah, Houston Post and Houston Chronicle,
which made it, and the Post. Now, the funny thing is, if you drive down 59 near West Park, you'll see the Chronicle, the big Chronicle building. That building actually used to be the Houston Post back in the day. And so at night, my dad was in school, worked at KFC, and then at night he would, I feel like a lot of immigrants were doing that job. They would go and just wait and just stack their cars with newspapers, and they would throw the newspapers at night. Remember, this is before the internet. So people opened up newspapers and they read. That's how they got their news and stuff like that. So I remember in second grade, they'd be like, what did your dad do? Like, my dad does the things. But I wanted to ask this question. I wanted to make this practical. What if you're into art? Shout out to Hill. Last 2 days, he got me in contact with two people, kind of looking for help and stuff. And so one of the folks that I talked to, he did like freelance artwork, right? And so I was just thinking about this right now. What is some practical advice we would have for someone who's like, 21, 22 and has a passion for art, and they're just trying to go out and figure out, how can I turn this into a career? How can I use this to help build a life for myself, right?
I think I can speak on that, because growing up, I had a skill for art, and I had to realize for me personally that although I was talented in it, it was not my passion. So I actually went to school and majored in animation. And through animation, I have to do all the different type of arts, paint, sketching, sculpture, physical art. Like
like-
I had to do all of those, but it took me experiencing that to learn that although I was good at it, that wasn't my passion. And it benefits me now because my passion is teaching and I can take that skill and apply it. So I majored in animation, so I know how to do it on the computer and things of that nature. So when I record a video of me teaching and making it interesting, I can do the different animations on it because I learned all those skills. Or when it comes to me trying to draw something to make it interesting, I can go back and use their skills. But going to your question, how could a young artist profit from their passion and their skill and their talent? Well, the great thing about today is, it's many different ways that they can put their art out there through the use of media, social media and things of that nature. So if whatever kind of art that they do, whether it's painting or sculpting or drawing, whatever that art is, they can record a video of themselves, have some nice music, whatever music is popular to whatever demographic they're trying to appeal to, and have them actually showing the process and, just post that, whether it's on social media, the different platforms, and then also going to local mom and pop shops, restaurants to get their art display. Hey, is it okay if you can just hang it? Now, I don't know if the goal be to sell it or not, but I know if you're having it in public places and people look and be like, oh, who is that? What is that about? So that's getting your name out there. And also just advocating for yourself. Hey, I'm an artist. This is what I do. And going to like art galleries, going to art museums. And when they have events, they actually be having local events at the art museums, and they have so many type of different events that's involving art and hip-hop music. If you go to those events and start talking to people, let them know like, hey, I'm an artist, just you can check me out on XYZ platform and see, and then that's getting that word out there. Because I start every time I see someone showing a video of them doing the art and I like it, I follow them. So now I follow all these different artists, even though, it's not my passion anymore, but I still like it, still a part of me to enjoy it. So now I follow all these different artists, people who start painting upside down and flip it over. It's like these things are so interesting because now you see them doing it, you want to see the end result. You can't wait to see the end result, and especially when it's really good. So I think just putting themselves out there so that other people can be aware of your talents.
Hey LYS fam, it's Olay once again. These days, many families are busy but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
Kudos. And I definitely agree in what you shared. And I kind of want to hop on I guess a subtopic of what you shared a little bit more regarding what you're good at versus are you getting paid for that thing, or maybe you're not as passionate about that thing. Like a lot of times, a lot of people don't know that you can have multiple passions or you can have multiple skills. And so the thing is, you could have a skill that somebody actually does not pay for, whereas or passion that somebody does not pay for. Or you can have multiple passions, you get paid for both of them. And sometimes it's hard to decide, right? Because you're so good at one thing, or you're so good at two things that it's like, man, it's really hard to decide. And so I think Jamar kind of nailed it. Well, let me correction, the doctor kind of hit the nail on the head regarding what to do when you have different skill sets, right, is really put yourself out there, put those skill sets out there. Now, how do you know, let's say you're you're in high school. How do you know what you're good at? Usually people will tell you. And people will say, man, you're really good at, or man, you're the best at, or man, this is really good about you. This is something that's really unique about you. And sometimes, to me, I'm all about principle. So there's a scripture that says every matter will be confirmed by 2 or 3 witnesses. Meaning, if there's 2 or 3 people that tell you the same thing, there's a higher likelihood that that thing is true, that you should investigate it. Not that, hey, man, just because they told me, it is what it is, right? Because this is something that, I'm going to burst a lot of people's bubble with this. Sometimes your friends and your family are telling you that you're good at something when you're really not that good. Or you're the best in your circle, right? And you're not really best in the circle, okay? And that's a big difference. That's a big difference, right? What do I mean by that? You could be like, dial on, I spit hot fire, ding, ding, ding. So you could be, the dial on of your group, right? And then some of you are listening and you're like, who is Dylon? And I'm like, exactly, right? You see what I'm saying? So for those who don't get the reference, Dave Chappelle / what was the name of that group?
Making the Band,
right? Making a band. And so the thing is, he thought he was the best rapper in the world, and today nobody knows who this guy is, right? And why is that? Because amongst his circle, he was really good. But once he got into a more competitive circles of people who really be doing this, you know what I'm saying? That's what I said, man, I really be doing this, right? It's a totally different ball game.
sure.
And so now I want to share being, knowing, doing, and how being, knowing, doing plays into this. Okay, so for those who are our auditory learners, okay, think about 3 Venn diagrams again. Okay, and the first one is you're not gonna do that to me. The first one is be, right? And so in being, right, there are 3 essential attributes or principles in being, and that is your character. And by character, I'm not just speaking about the moral character. I'm talking about what drives you, what motivates you, what ignites you. Keyword, what animates you. What makes you just almost like giggly when you start talking about it? What, when you wake up, is like, yo, man, I really want to get into this thing. What moves you in that direction, right? That's really, really key, that character piece. Next is, what values do you have, or what career shares your values, right? Because there's certain things that, hey, man, it's really cool, but you don't really value it as much. And then the last aspect of that is the principles, okay? Meaning, can you stand on your principles in that career, right? And that's key for a lot of people, because as careers start shifting and they're asking people to do stuff that, that's like, yo, this, I don't agree with this morally, I don't agree with this ethically. If you're not going to blast in that career, it's just, be honest, because you're going to start dragging feet. And I'll give an example. When it was time for me to move along from my job, it's just like, it got to a point where it's like, man, they up in here lying. Okay, they're not in here really giving the best service to people. I work in the medical field, and literally they're just basically throwing mud on the wall and seeing what sticks. I could not continue to do that in good conscience, right? And so for me, I had to make a move, right? And so values, character, principle, and that's being, right? That's your first circle. And then the next circle is know, right? So being, knowing. So in knowing, I have to look at what resources are available and how do I use them. And that's something that Dr. DeMarc was just sharing, was who in my city meets up for art on a weekly basis. Where are the listening parties at of people listening to new music, right? You go on meetup.com, you could search your local newspaper, you could go on, just so many different websites to find out these different places and these different resources that you can go and hang out at, right? And then you need to know how to put yourself out there, how to use those resources, right? Just because you know where a resource is doesn't mean you actually know how to use it. So who's mastering that? Like, I got a homeboy, Debo, shout out to Debo, shout out to Said. Debo is a master networker. I took Debo to an event, and then I took him, right? I'm like, yo, come here, come see this thing. And he got there super late, and I'm like, yo, I'm about ready to go. Next thing you know, in about 10 minutes, he was introducing me to people at the event I was at before him. Like, hey, let me come and introduce you to this guy. And then I'm thinking, hey, do you know this guy? He's like, no, I just met him. I'm like, wait a second. So you come to the event that I'm at and introduce me to people that I walk past already, right? Because he's a master networker, and that's just what he knows how to do. You know what I mean? And then the final thing is that doing piece, which is executing with excellence, right? And so this is how you get on that LYS path of purpose. And so we're gonna kind of just throw in a couple more pieces here, and then I'll pass it on, right? So between being and knowing, right, is who, okay? Who do you need to know? Who do you need to have relationships with, right? My character, my values, and my principles shows up in the places that I need to know that stuff. And so that's where I know how to build relationships. Who do I need to get mentored by? Who do I need to sit under their tutelage, right, to get better at, okay? Between knowing and doing is the academia, right? Is the academia. How do I build my skill set? How do I build my knowledge base, right? What books do I need to read, right? The more you know, the better you do, right? One thing I teach my boys is that listen, wisdom is what you do with what you know. If you don't know much, you can't do much. And a lot of people are very frustrated in their lives because they're not executing at the level they really want to execute at, but they're not taking the discipline to sit down and learn, right? They think you could just Google an answer, or you could pay for a course and do that, it's all there. And it's like, no, you have to actually have the experience. Do you know, I think the word is about 90%. The statistic, I mean, is 90% of people who take online courses or who pay for an online course never finish the online course. So how do you know what's in the end? You don't. You get 30, 40% through and then you quit, right? That's not going to help you get to that next level.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad, parents. Prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show, because you know it's some good topics.
And then finally, let's talk about between doing and being, right? This is where you have your purpose, okay? Between doing and being, right? This is where you get your mission from, okay? I'm sorry, my computer is acting up. This is purpose, but this is where you get your mission from. This is where you get how you set your priorities, right? So the thing is, you're only going to really accomplish what you focus on the most, okay? And so if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know your character, your purpose, your mission, right, you're not going to be able to be like, hey, listen, I need to spend X amount of hours on this and X amount of hours on this. No, you're spending so many hours on the video game, right, because you don't quite know exactly what your mission is. You're scrolling on Instagram so much because you don't quite know what your mission is, right? And so as kind of everybody has shared here is like, okay, maybe instead of scrolling down Instagram just to see what's on there. Maybe you're looking for artists. Who's the hottest artist in my area that I could connect with? Who's the, which principals are holding workshops and doing different types of activities that I could connect with, right? Who's doing speaking events that I should go and be a guest speaker at? Well, maybe who's doing an open mic? Maybe I'm going to do the open mic. You know what I mean? I'm just going to open, I'm going to 5 minutes, I'm going to warm up the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different ways in order for you to be successful, right? But success really comes from within, right? So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to the fellas.
So, I think one of the things, and thank you for that, Festus. I think one of the things that we're really trying to do with Laddering Your Success is we're definitely trying to build a community. And you mentioned community, Festus, when you were talking about when you have 2 to 3 people to kind of validate something in you, that's something that you really need to pay attention to, right? That's like a sign. And I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a network of purpose-driven, passion-minded people who are able to build that network and see those things within each other so they can start their own journey. And I've said this once, I'll say it again, and I think I'm going to say it till the day I die. The beautiful thing about Laddering Your Success is that a lot of the things that we talk about, that we speak about, I've actually seen them happen. And so one thing that Festus said is when you have a gift or a passion or something in you, people will see it. And so I want to just give a quick story. When we did an event, Festus and I, we did an event at HBU for Nancy. And we were speaking with some of the kids, just talking to them about LYS, helping them find their passions and their purpose, things like this. And Festus said, bro, do you see what's happening when you walk? And I said, no. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. He said, when you walk, wherever you go, there's like a group of kids that just follow you. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, just pay attention when you're going. There's literally like the kids are just following you wherever you go. And that's the thing. We always talk about flow. When you are working in your purpose, it doesn't feel like work. It literally just feels like water. Like you're just going with the flow. You're just doing whatever. And I started to pay attention and I really started to notice, I was like, oh, wow, these kids are following me. As I'm talking to a couple of them, they're trust me, I'm not forcing these kids. They're just following along, going along with me. And I was like, wow. And then I thought about the things that happen in the classroom and, kind of what happens when, we'd be doing a lesson or we just be, doing things and, for instance, going outside for wellness, recess, or wellness. You call it's recess, all right? And shout out to the cartoon Recess. Only millennials would know about that. But either way, when sometimes I would just walk. I would just walk around the field. I would just walk. And as I would walk, students would just come up. They would just come and we would just start talking. And before you know it, it just turned into like this, like Sigmund Freud with the pipe, and you're just talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the great cartoon of the early 90s. 4 turtles raised by a rat in the sewers of New York City. You know what I'm saying? You're just talking about whatever the kids are like, yes, tell me more, but that's just kind of how those things work. And so that's the beauty of building that, of just having community. And I think that's an important thing that you talked about. And that's one thing I want us to jump into real quick. Ever since I've left the classroom, I've been able to spend a lot more time in the community doing different things. And I've noticed that that's a big thing that we're really lacking, especially for our young people, is the B portion. Well, all portions really, but not the B portion, but the no portion of be no do. There are so many resources out there for our young people that they just don't know about. So I'm gonna say this right now. If you are a parent and you have a middle school aged or a high school age or a college age child, please just do a quick search into the nearest community center, your local representative or your local councilman or woman's website and just take a look at some of the different events that they have there. If there is a meeting for your district where you are, just go, if it's 5-10 minutes, sign up for that email, the little email list, and just get all that great info that they're sending out there. Because here's the thing. In the last couple of weeks, I've done a pickup, the Bissonnette Street pickup, went to a free movie night that one of the parks was showing, what was holding. There's so many different things. And so for a lot of people, they're not exposed to these different events and activities. And so if you're not exposed to them, not only do you not know about them, but they don't give you a chance to kind of develop those skills in real world places. You don't have real opportunities to really use those things. So, I think about today, I think the average person probably won't get a chance to do, some of these activities till after at least college, because colleges usually do a pretty good job of like having these events, but that doesn't mean a lot of students do them. Talking about the average student, maybe not till after college, if they do get a chance to do it. So especially for the young people who do have the opportunity, go out there and see what's out there. Because if you're never, using that muscle, right? That's a big thing with older people as they get older, they get atrophy, right? Me and my mom used to have this conversation. If you don't use it, you lose it. There's a reason why they said that. If you don't have a chance to develop these skills, talk to different people, work with different people, understand yourself, understand these different talents and skills and abilities that you have, you're going to lose it. And that's where we are, right? And I say it like I used to tell my students, hey, I don't have a problem with you working at Walmart. I don't. But is that really where the full breadth of your talent, your skills, and your abilities, is that where they're being used? Is that where it's meant to be used? I'll never forget, I had a student who he just never figured it out. And it was one of the hardest things I ever had it was my first year. So I was definitely channeling a lot of my dad in my teaching. So, it was a sixth grader. I told him, I said, hey, look, I can only help you so much. I can only help you so much. What I don't want is I don't want us to be in a situation where when I see you several years from now, if you don't heed what I'm trying to tell you, and I just see you at a random place just working, I'm going to go, you're going to ring me up, and I'm going to go about my business. It hurt me to say that, but that's just the truth of the matter. You can only help. Look, I tell the students, we have less than a year. We've got less. I'm not teaching you. Yeah, I'm teaching you math, science. So I'm teaching you, but we have less than a year to get it together, to help you learn something to make you a better person. And that's the true power of education, right? It's not just school, right? It's literally edifying yourself for life. Thank you, Festus, for always breaking that down. It's almost cemented in my head now, right? So those are just some of my thoughts on when it comes to finding that passion and using it to find different career opportunities. If you're in a really toxic environment, if you're in an environment where people aren't really getting those things or understanding these things, it's going to be hard for you to figure it out and be able to translate that into another avenue, right? So I think the violin has stopped playing for me. The doctor, yeah, you guys got anything else you want to drop in there for us? You good? D Hill, you good, sir? Ambassador Himothy? All right. So I think that's a good place to stop. Actually, one more thing. I had a really good story. Festus, do you remember when we were at Sharpstown? We were mentoring some kids at Sharpstown, and there was a young lady who wanted to become a tattoo artist.
I think so, yeah.
Now, of course, it's one of those things where, I was like, yo, why you want to be a tattoo artist? Like, you're still trying to figure out between like following, God and being like, yo, I don't think that's the thing to do. But also not closing that avenue off for a young person and being like, hey, if that's your passion, go ahead. So I don't know who told me this, but apparently tattoo artists practice on pig legs or like pig's feet or something like that. And so I was super excited. I remember I would tell people, yeah, man, I'm so excited. I'm going to buy one of my students a pig's foot. And they were like, why are you excited about that? I'm like, because she wants to be a tattoo artist. And then they're like, that's weird. And in my mind, I'm like, no, you're weird. This kid in high school figured out an avenue they want to go in. I'm going to get them a pig's foot and they're going to practice on the pig's foot. I wanted to buy this girl the whole set, the tattoo needle and everything. And shit, they would just go with it and just practice there. That's what I wanted to do. So it's the community. If she would have never met me, if she would have never been around me, if we would have never been there, I would never had the thought to even look into pig's feet and looking into getting her those things, right? And so that's what we're talking about with the power of community, all right? That's a good place to end. I've been given a hard stop time, so if no one else has anything, young people, make sure you get involved. Parents, make sure you help your young people get involved. It's super, super key, putting them around in the right places, right environment, right community, right? So as always, thank you so much to the ambassador, Himothy, Him Express, the one and only Daniel Hill, the soon-to-be Dr. Jamar Crawford with the fresh beard looking very nice. You have the most facial hair out of anyone here right now. God bless you. Festus, go ahead, close us out with a phrase that caps it all, buddy.
Yeah, so listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse. Dang, I messed it up. There's legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. We're laddering your success. Listen, go ahead and take that step with us. Hit that follow button and hit the share button for somebody who needs to hear this. All right, we'll see you in the next episode.
Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS podcast.